If you're listening in, if you're tuning in or watching a replay of this, this is for you if you have a team, right? So if you're a branch manager, if you're a director of production or marketing, or the boss of your organization, and you're wondering if it's time for a refresher, right? Time to do a reboot. Today's training is gonna give you some answers, going to give you some good insights, and I've got Spencer joining me to do that today. So let's jump in, shall we? Go ahead and do this real quick. Let's just cover a quick agenda of what we're going to go over. So we're going to take a look at this month's ebook, and in just a moment, Nicole's going to drop a link for this month's ebook. If you haven't already gotten it, it's amazing. We're going to cover the 4 reasons why it might be time for a refresher. Three things to consider before rallying your team together for a refresher, as well as something that's not on here, but some of the differences between a refresher training and maybe a loan officer training. Like when you first onboarded your team, you did a loan LO training, you want to know, hey, well, what's the real difference between that and what you guys are talking about here? So let me stop sharing this, and I want to show, let's jump right over to the ebook. And by the way, while I'm doing that, guys, can you help me monitor the chat as well? But for those of you that are jumping in, let me know where in the country you're tuning in from. Let us know. Drop it right into the chat. I'm putting mine into Owings Mills, Maryland.
We got Sharon from Indiana. Hi, Sharon.
Right on. Who else we got?
Got Dave out in Kansas. We got Jerry out in Durham, North Carolina. Love to see it, guys.
Right on. Welcome, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So here we go. Take a look, guys, while you're putting in and dropping in your info, letting us know where you're tuning in from. We're all in this together, right? On my desktop, you might see, hey, stronger together. It's one of our values at Sales Boomerang, but we're all in this together. And Sales Boomerang, I love this because we have set out to be a leader in the industry by helping us all grow together. And one of one of our missions is to help you all become your borrower's best financial friend, right? You might have seen Alex Kosician, our CEO, wearing a shirt that says, your financial best friend with benefits. It's tongue in cheek, but at the end of the day, it's funny, but it's true because people want that, right? They want to be able to talk to their financial person, whether that's their insurance person, their financial advisor, their real estate, or their mortgage person, right? They want to talk to them in a way that they feel comfortable, and it's not ever like I'm being, kind of pushed into a corner on a specific product. And so this ebook actually is really great. It's got some wonderful information, very practical information, how to become the BFF, right? Like, above all, here are the things you should be doing. Your mortgage advisors will be trusted when they do these. Here's how to be a great listener, right? How important is that? Having your borrowers back, commit for the long haul. Spencer, we talk about some of this stuff even just in the trainings that we do, right? I mean, what's the approach that we take when we're talking to our borrowers on a call when we get an alert from them?
Certainly, right? We want to make sure that we're establishing that trust, that we're going to help them see through the process, put on those, perfect prescription lenses into their vision of what their mortgage future can be and how to best help their financial situation. And, tell them that you're going to be there for them, schedule their next best loan, give them advice at those points in time, and ultimately bank on that trust and continue to get that borrower for life and be that lender for life. That's what we strive to do.
Yeah. So thanks for jumping in, guys. I may have, do me a favor, Nicole or Richard, if you can drop in the right link in there. That was the one I just dropped in there, was registering for today. We're not doing that. We're already here. So let's scoot back over to this presentation. Drop the link in, because again, for somebody else that may have come in since you have posted that one, I want to make sure they can get it. There you go. Thank you. All right. So some of you know us, some of you don't, but for those of you that don't, my name is Pablo Troncoso. I'm the growth strategist here at Sales Boomerang. It's just a fancy way of saying I'm here to help you all on how to find and plug the gaps, help you bridge your way to the next level of success, and help you boost your ROI, right? Your return on investment through Sales Boomerang. And Spencer is, well, I'll let Spencer tell you who he is and what he's all about.
Right on. Yeah, I'm a training and adoption specialist as well. So really the main goal for me, guys, throughout the onboarding process, when you're coming live with Sales Boomerang, we want to make your loan officers, your sales team, your retention team, your call center, whatever it may be, as comfortable and confident as possible with Sales Boomerang products. Make sure that they feel the wind beneath their wings, so to speak, and like they're getting exciting, flammable alerts that, coming fresh hot out of the oven, we get a Sales Boomerang alert into your CRM, or maybe you use our dashboard ultimately, but trying to generate the excitement there and then go revisit down the road, 90 days later, every quarter or so, whatever it may be, to revisit, get any new hires excited, and just answer general questions. Make sure that we feel like we're properly strategizing on how to follow up with Sales Boomerang alerts. And like we were mentioning, be that best friend in the mortgage industry, that best financial friend, and continue to grow and strengthen our approach in the follow-up to make sure that we're retaining as much business as possible and doing everything we can to comb through your database and find all of those golden nuggets and opportunities.
Hey, and thank you, Spencer, for that. Listen, guys, real quick, I want you to drop the number 1 or the number 2 into the chat. Number 1, if you've had a refresher training already in the past and you're wondering, hey, it's maybe time for another one, or drop a number 2 if you have not, right? If you haven't, and this is maybe your first time considering this, right? So Stephen has not, Pamela has not, thank you. Again, 1 if you have, 2 if you have not. Michael has not.
Michael says he has had one before.
Sorry, he has, yes.
Yep.
Diane has not. Okay, great. And by the way,
Nancy said she's been doing her own refresher trainings.
Right. Nancy, what's up, Nancy? Good to see you. And Jerry has not. No, I'm sorry. Jerry has. I'm confusing myself on that one, Spence.
Has not. 2 is has not. 1 is has. I think
1 has, 2 has not. Okay.
There we go.
So, all right. So then, with that being said, I want to, Nicole, if you can drop the poll into Zoom. And here's the question, guys, because something that Spencer and I have been looking at, and we kind of want to be transparent in this, right, is we want to be able to automate a lot of what it is that we do, and especially for you guys to make it easy and efficient for people to get training. So really take a look at that question. How much do you think e-training, right, or e-learning at their own pace, they're being your loan officers, would help? Right. So if they could access this, so instead of having to schedule a follow-up training, or even someone maybe new that's on board, and now you got to wait until that new training is available, guys, let us know, right? Is that something that you think would be 100% helpful for you guys? Are you not sure if that would be helpful or not? Or, no way, we've tried that, we've done that before, and it was, it did not go well. So take that. We'll give you about another 10 seconds. And I'd love to see kind of what the response is from that, because we are looking at those options, right? And if it makes sense for you all, whether it's training or refresher training.
Self-paced learning and allowing some modules and short video content to supplement what we do.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got here for results. All right. So about half of you said 100%. About 42% said not sure. And a couple said, hey, no way. Actually, 1 said no way. 5 not sure, and 6 said 100%. So that's good. We'll keep that in mind. And actually, with that, let me add a second question to that, and then we'll jump into today's content. Go ahead and drop that second poll, Nicole. So if you had this training, right, for the ones that are either not sure or the ones that 100% want this, what type of reporting back to you do you think would be helpful, or do you imagine would be helpful when looking?
But if you complete one of these trainings, we're able to see who completed it, or who is active within the e-course and has used it, or how does the e-course activity correlate with the conversion activity. So to see if there's an increase in your conversion rate, your return on investment based on that.
Yeah. So which one of those would be the most helpful? And by the way, if you're saying all the above, like Nancy just dropped in, because I know that's not an option, go ahead and drop that in. Thank you, Nancy. And then we can go ahead and close out that polling. All right. So the majority of the folks wanted to see how it correlates the activity in the course correlates to the conversions, right? Are my people that are doing this, are they the ones also kind of seeing the results and converting, right? Only a quarter said wanted to see who's completing it, and not necessarily, no one was interested in how active or who's active in the course currently. So, all right, great. Thanks so much for putting that up there. Thank you guys for participating in that. So let's jump right in. So Spence, let's talk about this, right? There's really a handful of reasons of why somebody might be interested in refreshers. Very granular. There's probably a lot of reasons specifically to your organization, but really these are the 4 reasons. I'm going to kick off this first one, and we have an amazing new trainer, right? So let's just put Spencer on the spotlight right now, guys. Spencer, he's incredible because he's a big picture thinker. Meaning, right, he doesn't just look at everything kind of one level or one dimensional. He's going to take a look at the full picture. What I love about organic planning and holistic planning is that's how he approaches these trainings and these conversations. He's got a CSM background, right? Everyone on this call, if you're a client, Sales Boomerang, you work with a CSM. He was that, right? So he understands the ins and outs of not just the training aspect, but everything that's going on from onboarding throughout your lifetime with Sales Boomerang. And he's got a mortgage background, right? He's got a mortgage background. He was a top producer with a mortgage company. And so, you can't ask for a better person with a better background to be in that position. So
I'll take your word for it on that, Pablo. I appreciate the kind words. I'm just kidding. But ultimately, guys, like you said, I have been a customer success manager, managing accounts within Sales Boomerang and trying to understand as much as possible when we can get bogged down with certain things, and we can start to kind of have a gray cloud that goes over the strategy conversations, the growth conversations, and how to effectively make sure that we're continuing to get our best return on investment. We can get caught up in minutia. So what I want to do with these refresher trainings that we're going to talk about, guys, is make sure that we are having these strategic conversations and continuing to move forward. So with that, that's my main goal there. I'm trying to bring the biggest full circle that I can from my previous experience and my experience as a CSM as well. So I appreciate it.
Spencer, the second biggest reason is people want to re-engage their users, right? They have a team of loan officers, a team of producers, and for one reason or another, they're thinking, I invested in, my team invested in Sales Boomerang. It's been quite some time. I'm not sure that we're getting everything out of it. What's the best way to re-engage them, right? Our users, are they even using it? And so sometimes the best way to find out is to help us check the pulse on your people, right? And so those people include everyone from your loan officers to your branch managers. Actually, the last one I think is probably the most important one is we check the pulse on ourselves, right? If I'm looking to schedule a refresher training, do I want to know if my loan officers are using, but man, what's the level of awareness that I have on any new things that are going on within Sales Boomerang? What about that conversation with CSMs? Like, am I really up to par with everything that's going on right now in the kind of conversations, given what's going on in the marketplace? Like, how do we know that we're up to date with what Sales Boomerang is doing? Case in point, the ebook. There are some excellent strategies in there. And those are the kind of strategies that we need to know and have that conversation with a CSM before maybe jumping into a conversation and saying, hey, we just want a training to get our people re-engaged, right? Talk about this third one, Spencer, and I mean, we'll share on this one, but talk to me about how important this one is.
Certainly. We want to make sure you're getting a bang for your buck with Sales Boomerang. You should be seeing end over end return on investment, able to, take a look at what you've been paying out for our services and ensure that applications and funded deals are going to your pipelines. You'll hear us talk about conversion reports, a free report that we run at Sales Boomerang to show how many opportunities have started with the Sales Boomerang alert and ended with a funded deal. That's what we're here for at the end of the day. Adding funded deals to your pipeline, creating, essentially top producing LOs through Sales Boomerang alerts is our main goal here. So wanting to examine conversion report data, which is something you deal with your customer success manager, your CSM, where you'll submit any funded application and loan data, and then we can cross-reference it. And that's how we can strategize and goal plan, guys. Make sure we're increasing that conversion rate, how many of these alerts we are turning into funded deals over time, and what these refreshers are for. The application, once you're a little bit more comfortable, you've had that initial training, and we can go examine, set quarterly goals, annual goals, and increase your bottom line ultimately is the goal here. So just trying to do a little health check internally, bringing back the subject matter that's at the forefront of our mind, how to follow up on these alerts, what has been working, what hasn't. Let's promote some internal dialogue among our team, whether it's LOs, whether it's leadership. Let's bring it in, let's work on it and make sure we can have a fine-tuned machine that is turning loans into your pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some great trainings where we've had organizations say, listen, we want to bring in just our branch managers on this call because we want you to help train our trainers, right? Or we want you to train the trainers, which in this case would be the branch managers, who would then turn around and share this with their loan officers on an ongoing basis, right? And we want you to have fun with it, right? You can actually, you can do refreshers as a seasonality thing. There's an organization, I believe Premier, every time there's like a holiday, some big holiday on the map, they bring us in to do a training, and they ask us to customize some of the training content so that it fits, so that it fits their holiday, right? Like finding the pot of gold during St. Patty's Day. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do it and have fun with it, and have giveaways and do all those sorts of things as well. But just know that there's multiple opportunities. There's another one, an organization, PRMG, they talked to us and they said they loved it so much they wanted to have quarterly trainings with us because they saw the impact that it had when they were able to take all of their loan officers that were already in one meeting and immediately told them, it was like a sales call meeting, and immediately told them, hey, as soon as this is over, jump into the refresher training, and Pablo and Spencer are going to talk to you guys about the scripting that you can use and how to use that starting today because of what's going on with the purchase market, right? Another example was we have some engagement in the call, and there's actually best practices where we have the loan officers come in and share what they're doing, share what's working. Like you've seen results, you've converted alerts into applications. Tell us what you're doing, and in those conversations, there is massive amounts of value that's revealed. So that's really important, guys. When we talk about lifting your ROI, it's immediately. We see impact right after those calls, and actually a lot of really great strategies that take place. Which, Spence, I want you to talk about some of the things behind strategy that we might want to look at.
Certainly. And whether it's a realignment of a retention division, or there's a new product that you want to turn on with Sales Boomerang, like our cash out alert, which has been really outstanding this year, trying to give that confidence into the follow-up, into the texting, into the email, how to, establish that connection with a potential borrower as effectively as possible, working on that automation, making sure that you're able to schedule the next best loan, trying to, double dip when you do get these opportunities to fund these, how to effectively use Sales Boomerang to follow up again down the road and bring that business back to you ultimately. But sometimes it can be effective to having a realignment, like a retention division within your organization that allows you to, really have a few good men, so to speak, or women that can ultimately focus on Sales Boomerang and able to really turn that business out and get that pipeline really moving, increase your conversion rate that way, having a focus group essentially on it, or some sort of new strategy. And that internal thinking, those conversations that we have with LOs, like Pablo said, on a refresher we did, 2 weeks, Pablo, we had an officer say, oh, I have your equity alert. I had a woman come in who ended up wanting to give a gift for her son's first home purchase. And the LO had previously seen an equity alert on her, knew how much equity she had, knew she had previously mentioned that she wanted to get a summer home in a certain area. She was already completely paid out, or her mortgage was completely paid off. So he said, hey, I know you've mentioned wanting to move to this area. Why don't you use your equity to buy this house in cash? Then guess what? I know you also mentioned you were looking for some passive income in your retirement. So you could use that as an Airbnb and a summer home using your equity. So just trying to spark some ideas on how to turn these alerts into that. That's how you really get a borrower for life. That's why I love that story. Taking their situation, customizing it, and helping them meet their financial goals using these alerts. So promoting that dialogue as well, and how we can really focus down and streamline our efficiency with these into being the most optimal machine possible, like this F1 car here. So, do we need some all-weather tires? It's a little rainy today. Whatever we need to do to make a couple little adjustments that we can get back out on the track and put in those good times, man.
There's one important note that I want to focus on strategy for a second is, guys, just like an F1 car, right? The picture here, it's all about timing, right? And we can help you maximize your timing. So I'll give you an example. I had a client that called me up, and we had been piloting the program Sales Boomerang with them with three of their branches, right? 3 of their branches, and they had something like 30 branches. And so the timing was coming to where they're like, okay, we've seen the results, we've seen the conversion reports and what results, just 3 branches did. We want to roll this out to all the other branches, right? So that's number 1. They wanted to do that. Number 2 said, can we purposefully and do it in a timely way where it can hit at the same time that we're going to be doing a refinance campaign this summer, where while everyone's trying to focus on purchase, we literally want to focus on refinance. And so we want to look at the equity and the prescriptive scenario alerts. And if you can then do a refresher training to speak to that, but then also at the same time onboard our clients. So really it's refresher for those that have been around with Sales Boomerang, and then a brand new training for those that have not. And guess what? We can do both essentially in the same slot. And that's what we're working on right now. And they're just super excited. In fact, they're actually rethinking, should we just do this by the end of spring when the housing market starts to slow down again? And so again, a new way of thinking, guys. This last slot here doesn't have to necessarily be a new way of strategizing, but maybe you've been to a conference recently and somebody said something when it comes to how you got to approach 2022 or what's left of 2022, and you heard something and you said, you know what, I'm going to take this back. Let us know what that is, because we can actually help massage that and work it into the presentation. So Spence, let's talk a little bit about what's different from a refresher training than from maybe just your initial LO onboarding training that we do for everyone that comes to our doors. Talk to them a little bit about what they receive, what that looks like, what the package looks like, and again, what maybe makes it different from just a regular LO training.
Certainly. And we also had Tom just ask, is this training for LOs to increase the conversion of alerts, or is this to explain and sell the product? So Tom, the refresher training that we're talking about today is going to address that strategy with LOs in the first part of your question, to take the confidence that we've already instilled in just what our products are, how to follow up on them, getting the early details out. In our early trainings, we're going to go over credit criteria and customizable settings and just kind of cadence and some big picture stuff a little bit. And then really the refresher is, once we have some of that confidence already, we've been working these alerts, we've been working the process. We want to really try to refine that, make improvements, promote that internal dialogue, like we mentioned, and make sure that we're ultimately trying to improve our process, set goals, follow up on them, create short-term and long-term goals and action items, takeaways for the LOs, for your sales team, for your leadership out of these refresher trainings, as well as just bringing Sales Boomerang back to the forefront of their mind. So ultimately the goal there is to give a man a fish, so to speak, or teach them to fish themselves a little bit more so. So how to really turn Sales Boomerang into a well-oiled machine with these refresher trainings and make sure that they are able to have the best process in place possible when they follow up.
Yeah. So guys, I mean, what we do is, so we jump onto the training with your whole team, right? It's just a Zoom call. We invite everyone that's on your team that you want to have on that team, right? If it's specific to a division, then we have that division on, right? Remember, we're going to follow your lead. We're going to guide you based on best practices in what we call a pre-training call, right? So we don't just guess who you're going to have on the call. We actually take about 15 to maximum 30-minute call with you prior to setting up an actual training date, right? Because we want to get on the same page with you. And in that call, so once we actually do the Zoom, the extra Zoom training, it ends up being anywhere from about a 45-minute to 60-minute call. We record it. We get you the recording. We get you the scripting that's applicable to that training. And we do a little bit of research in the meantime to make sure that we're going to address and best serve your team. The other thing that I love about this, what's different, guys, about the refresher trainings than from your onboarding training, LO training, is that in the onboarding training, we're just sharing, we're just telling you guys, or telling your team, what they're going to have access to, how amazing Sales Boomerang is, right? It almost seems, it's like the first time they're hearing it. So they're going to have some questions, but they haven't used it at all. They haven't gotten on the bike for the first time yet and really taken it down the road yet. The refresher training is, hey, they've been in for 30, 60, 90 days, right? And they've gotten on the bike, they've fallen off, they've gotten some scrapes, they've gotten back up, they've learned some things. And now what we want to do is we want to engage with those LOs. In fact, right, Spencer, we've talked about this. We make sure that for those of you that are listening, we say, hey, who is the top 1, 2, or 3 people that are using Sales Boomerang, that are getting results, right? Whether that's they got an application or they funded a deal. And even more so, more importantly, is who's recently done that can share a story, because I want to have that open engagement and conversation with them. And that is so important, because it's not just us teaching them, they're seeing their fellow cohort that's sitting there with the same exact resources that they have, and they're getting results that maybe they're not. And so I asked them to walk us through that. We'll even share best practices, right? And in some cases, I hear things for the first time as far as script, like for example, scripting that I've never heard. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm going to run with that. There was a guy, Eric Gross, in another training that we did. He was sharing his story, and where he had helped somebody. He said, one thing that I say is that for any of the mortgage inquiry alerts, I call and I say, hey, you know me, Tom, I love to always kind of follow up and be in touch with you. I'm always checking in on your file, and a service that we do, to your benefit, is we're always monitoring it for things like fraud. And my team let me know that, you had your mortgage, looked like you had your mortgage pulled for credit purposes. I'm sorry, your credit pulled for mortgage purposes. And I'm just following up to make sure that that's the case. And if not, if we need to further investigate. And he says, people just automatically, they're like, oh my goodness, Pablo, I'm so glad you called. I couldn't remember your number, or I didn't think you did real, refis. I thought you only did purchases, whatever the reason is, but it gets you on the phone, has a relevant conversation. And just that scripting that Eric shared, I immediately started to put that into scripting that now we share with other loan officers. So those are things to think about, guys. Interactivity, which is different than just us, quote unquote, teaching. Okay. But really, and by the way, guys, if you have any other questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat, because we're coming to the tail end of this call. But 3 things that I want you to certainly consider, right? If it's time to schedule a refresher training, hit us off with the first one, Spencer.
Yeah, absolutely. So why are you doing refresher? What is your goal? What is the goal at hand? Do we need to kind of bring it back to the forefront? Has it kind of fallen by the wayside to in your loan officer's mind? It's been a while. Do you have 5 new LOs that you brought on this quarter that really have been trying to work these alerts as best as they can, but haven't really vocalized or verbalized it? Are you looking to maybe realign your team and create a retention division, whatever it may be? So what is the goal at hand here is the first one, and making sure that we can really have a clear track to be successful with.
Yeah. And Spencer, you talked about the conversion report earlier for number 2 here. Conversion reports I laugh, because I'd say we're like one of the only companies in the industry, in the mortgage industry, let alone really any industry, that's actually willing to give you a report card of not only how good you're doing, but how good we're actually doing. And in some cases, maybe how not good we're doing. So we want to know that, and we want to have those conversations together. So number 1, you should always know what your conversion reports look like. If you haven't already run one, I don't even call it conversion report. I call it the keep your job report, because that one can actually show you, and you can, when if you've got somebody that you need to answer to when it comes to production, you've got actual proof, right? Proof based on data that you've provided us with your fundings, and then based on all the alerts that we've delivered. And we can show you, how many loan apps have been taken, how many alerts have we delivered, how many apps have been taken, how many funded deals have been funded from those apps that were taken, which loan officers are doing the most production, how many days is it from closing, from taking an alert and turning it into an app? How many days is it taken from taking that app and turning it into a funded deal? All that information is in the alert, or I'm sorry, in the credit report, a conversion report rather. And what we can do is we can say, okay, well, it looks like things are really working here. Let's ratchet that up, right? Maybe there's some things missing over here, right? When we're looking at the equity alert, maybe we need to change some of the folks that are looking at those and receiving those alerts. So all those different things in a conversion report. If you don't have one, make sure you get with your CSMs to have that run. And we have a team that actually will walk you through all the results in there. And again, I call it a keep your job report, because even if your team is not performing to the level that you would like, you can take that report and say, here's where we're not performing. But guess what? I spoke with Spencer, I spoke with CSM, I spoke with Pablo, and here's what we're doing to initiate the next level of that, so that we can at least do a proper reset and a refresher, right? And then the last thing, Spencer, go ahead and share about why it's important to get this on your calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, being an LO is a high turnover industry. People are constantly switching where they are, number one, and placing that consistent training. If your team's bringing on, 20 new LOs in an 18-month period or a 6-month period or whatever it may be, just making sure that they feel comfortable, they feel confident working these alerts, working with Sales Boomerang ultimately, and just to continue, taking accountability, keeping track of progress, taking action items, internal discussions that can work between two different LOs, and making sure that they just have the best kind of tool belt around their waist at all times, right on their mind, to understand how they can effectively turn these alerts into opportunities. So the consistent training, being able to have that accountability with your team, keep it on the forefront of their mind. And as Pablo said, we're shifting into this purchase market. We're coming out of a historic refi boom, and trying to find those opportunities, keep them on the forefront, and make sure that we're really in that comfort zone of where these watches are, what your watch settings are, and making sure that we're shifting our approach as the market shifts, and that we're able to continue generating these opportunities and make sure that we're becoming your borrower's best financial friend.
Spence, it's funny you mentioned, as you were talking about the purchase and the refi market kind of shifting. We had a conversation. We did a pre-training with a lender. It was a credit union, actually, a bank or credit. I can't remember now. We do so many of them. But a very interesting thought came from that call, and they said, "Listen, we're in an area where there is not a lot of purchase or listings on the market. There's not a lot of listings on the market, which means we can't really help a lot of our borrowers or past customers
was super low
with buying in this area, right? So it doesn't make sense that we would be so interested in the purchase market." But the one thing that did ring out was that they were receiving a lot of equity alerts, and so from that conversation, guys, this is why it's so important to have these conversations with us, not without us, but with us. Came a strategy where they said, listen, if we have this many borrowers have equity, right? There's $3 trillion worth of equity in this country right now, right? It doesn't have to be all for purchase, like taking money out to buy a home. They started to realize that their borrowers can use that equity to actually renovate their home that they currently live in. So instead of trying to find their dream home, why not renovate their current home and turn their current home into their dream home? And from that, they became so excited. And I know, Spencer ended up doing a training on that, and that was going to be a similar approach. So basically a refi in what would have been a purchase market. It can become a refi focused opportunity, specifically when it comes to like equity and prescriptive scenarios, mainly cash out alerts. So guys, I want to take one last poll here, but here's kind of your call to action, and I'll have Nicole drop that poll in there. But your call to action is get in touch with your CSM. Get in touch with your CSM to schedule your refresher training and a pre-call, right? Because we're not just going to do a pre-call, or I'm sorry, we're not just going to jump right in and do a training. We want to strategize with you. But we'd like to know, hey, who feels it's time for a refresher, right? Based on some of the information that you've heard today, maybe something that you'd been thinking about or wondering, just please drop us a yes or a no if you think that you'd be ready for a refresher training. We can reach out to you. We'll proactively want to do that. But if you reach out to us first, just let your CSM know, hey, we saw Pablo and Spencer do a SBU today, and we want to schedule a refresher, right? but make sure you schedule a strategy call first, right? Don't just say, hey, I want to do our training for our LOs on Tuesday at 10, because we do want to talk to you beforehand. So, all right, we can close that poll down. Thank you so much. Did anyone have any other questions? Great, we had some people that, yes, that today they're ready for a refresher. Had some people that are not ready for a refresher. That's totally fine. Even if you don't want a refresher training, but maybe you want to do a strategy call with one of us, please let your CSM know. We can schedule a short 15-30-minute strategy call where maybe you heard something that might be valuable to you. Spencer, what you got, brother?
Very excited to reach out to those couple people that did want to do so. Again, it can be tough. You can get a little bogged down with some, integration related matters or something that's been, another project outside of Sales Boomerang internally that you've been working on for a long time. But ultimately just getting these calls, having these big picture conversations and making sure that we're setting goals, making sure that we're running conversion reports to show if we're meeting them or how we can pinpoint areas that we could improve. Ultimately, that is the best practices, guys. That is what our most successful lender friends are doing, using Sales Boomerang effectively in that manner. So just trying to always keep the big picture in mind when we are working through some of these things that can occupy a little brain space, making sure we just continue on that path to success, continue trying to improve the process and make it as efficient as possible.
Thank you again, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. Sales Boomerang University, from Pablo and Spencer here in Maryland. We wish you all the best and we'll see you next time. Sales Boomerang University.
Thanks, everyone.